All right, Aaron Richards here. We are back and still here with my mom. This is part two. So on this one, we're going to actually go into more details of passive income specifically, how it's impacted our lives and why exactly it's important to make sure that you are focused on passive income and not just pushing it off and feeling like, oh, I'm going to be able to just save my way to retirement and it's all going to be great. One of the things that we talked about in the previous conversation that we did have was about how I grew up and why I am who I am today. My mom was a big influence on that and also the family dynamic that we had. But we'll talk about how her life has been impacted by my dad's illness and exactly how that's affected myself, but also our finances, and then what specifically she's doing now and how that's helping her circumstances today through the use of ATN and the help there. So you might hear a voice in the background. You will hear a voice in the background, and it's from Joseph, who is somebody that you guys have probably no doubtably seen before, but he's going to be asking some of the questions to us. We flew him out down here because that's what I do for my team. It's really important to make sure that everybody experiences what it is that we have going on down here in Medellin. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this started.
What was your idea of retirement and what was your actual plan towards that?
So I grew up kind of traditional. As I said in the last video, I started off being an engineer. I saved. I had a beautiful 401k account. Then kind of like 10 years later, I went to work at a college. We have special state teachers retirement that matched the portion of our income. And then at the time, my husband was working and had retirement and everything. So we were very disciplined people, lived within our means, just went to work and was just looking for that retirement. And then unfortunately, my husband was diagnosed with a chronic illness of Parkinson's disease, had to retire early. I always thought that I was going to retire at age 55, coming up on age 62 in a week or so, and still having to work because I had active income, 5 streams of active income. But as my husband's illness progressed, I had to stop working some of those streams. So if I would have had an opportunity to invest and be a part of something like ATN, I would probably be retired by now, even though I'm getting closer than what I was before. And I'll talk to you about that, what my son has offered to me and his dad.
And can you share with us the early days of when it started to happen and when you started to realize, oh, I need to start looking for alternative investments, or maybe I need to work some more hours?
So in my 40s, when we were raising the children, kind of in the 40s, they were going off to college. So we had 3 that were pretty close in same age, just a few years apart. So I would do extra working as an adjunct instructor for the college that I work for. I am an author, so I have written a book, and I would do public speaking and then also selling the book that I've self-published, and just doing some other consulting types of work. But as I stated, and those were really good income streams, but as the illness of my husband progressed, then I couldn't go travel as much to speak. I couldn't teach the extra classes because he needed my time or attention, or I needed to be coordinating efforts between his nurses and doctor's appointments and things like that.
Did you have any inklings that this could ever happen?
Never thought it. My husband was slim, was very fit, was on no medication, and then went from like 0 to like 50 pills a day. We never thought that this would ever have happened to us.
And then when it started happening, did you have to tap into your savings and retirement?
We didn't have to tap into the savings and retirement in the beginning because, as I stated in the other video, that he was offered a wonderful severance packet. So we didn't have to tap into savings at that time. But what we did have to tap into was alternative lifestyles in a different country for medical care that was way more affordable than what it costs to be in the United States.
What was the cost in the U.S.?
So in the U.S., even for today, right now, his medical care will be $18,000 a month. $18,000 in the U.S. for what he's getting here in Colombia. Right now, we are currently paying $6,000 a month, and we're actually getting more care. So he has the 24-hour care, and then he has a cook. He's in a private home. He gets a little bit more care for a third of the cost.
And did you know about these expenses?
Absolutely. Right. We're a family that talks about money pretty openly, and I knew how much it was. I was like, that's ridiculous. So
did you also have to sacrifice time with your 5 income streams when the illness started to happen in the early days?
Absolutely. I had to begin to shut down stream 1, stream 2, stream 3, because I just didn't have the time or the energy to do it. And then I travel. So we've been here 8 years, but every 2 months, I travel here to be with my husband for a week to 2 weeks at a time.
So before discovering ATN, right, you were in a difficult situation. What was life back then for you guys, right, before ATN? And how do you think things would be differently if ATN had been available 10 years ago?
Well, so when my husband received the severance package, if ATN would have been available, I would have immediately invested a huge portion of the funds into ATN.
Well, so that type of opportunity was not available.
Not.
It's not available to the public like that, right? So we have the opportunity to, again, offer this, and it's just because of the relationships that I've been able to create, fortunately, being in the right opportunities, the right place, and being persistent. But ultimately, what happened was you prioritized making sure that you had the cash liquid,
Yes,
and wanted to make sure that you were able to pay for his expenses and have no real need for having to fill out paperwork in order to use the money, or have to check with a money manager in order to get the money out, or whatever it was. So you prioritized that, when in hindsight, we would have definitely been better served to have assets and have cash flowing assets, more importantly. But of course, at that time, you did exactly what you felt was right, and I don't feel like you have too much regrets.
I don't have any regrets. not any.
What was the emotional toll on your personal life?
So what has happened, since it's a chronic illness and it's been for 20 years, what has happened is that my health began to deteriorate because of the stress, because of the managing of his health care, because of even the travel, coming back and forth to Colombia every 2 months. Now, some people might say you're fortunate to be able to travel like that, but it's people that's in America right now that's just the day-to-day of taking care of someone, being that caregiver. It is extremely stressful. I myself personally, I was diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago and was able to get the proper health care here in this country in 30 days. Was able to get it.
How long was it going to take in the U.S.?
Oh my God, 6 months to even get in to see. I called to get a second opinion on this, and they were like 6 months. And I'm telling you, in 30 days, they had removed the cancer and had me scheduled for the radiation. My sons paid for the radiation. And it's just having that passive income and being able to set priorities and redirect things. Who would have ever thought that I would have been sick like that? But we were able to respond to it in cash, because we pay for even the cancer removal in cash. And then my insurance reimbursed me, but we weren't playing with it. We needed the cash, pay for it in cash. And then I went to Aaron and his brother to pay for the radiation treatment, and they paid cash for it. I've been cancer-free now for 2 years.
But this is something that we also do want to talk about, right? Because there's this idea of the perfect retirement: 20 years, Roth IRA, 401k, 60. When I'm in my 60s, I'm able to pull it out with no penalties, things of that nature. However, based on your life experience, do you think it's a smart idea to just follow that traditional path?
Go off.
Absolutely not. And that was hence the 5 active income streams. You never want to have all the eggs in the one basket. You want to be able to have multiple streams. And the more that you can have the type of stream where that you don't have to be active, then that is going to be more beneficial to you. You can then concentrate on things that are more important to yourself, to your lifestyle, or to your health, doing things that you want to do. It could be reading, it could be walking, it could be just relaxing.
But what did the Social Security?
Oh my God. Oh,
What did they tell you?
trigger.
What they tell you?
So I worked 10 years in corporate America, and I was guaranteed that you're going to get X amount of money when you turn retirement age. So, and this is coming to me all in my 20s, all in my 30s, all in my 40s. And then, bam, they start slowing it down a little bit. So I go into Social Security office probably like 3 years ago. And I say, hey, I'm thinking about retiring in the next 3 to 5 years. Just want to know where I'm going to be, how I'm going to be sitting, because you used to say I was going to get this amount. And they said, ma'am, tell me how much you make right now. And I tell them, and they say, you're going to get 50%. And I was like, but I already paid 10 years into the program. They said, you're going to get 50%. So I went even, for some reason, I'm a glutton for punishment, but I went even 6 months ago. And I said, hey, I'm going to retire next year. How much you going to give me? They said, how much is pension going to be? I told them, they said, you're not going to get a nickel.
Not zero.
Not a
From 100% to 50%, like, all right, 50%, like, I don't really, like, whatever. But then you're,
And then, so my husband is living off a pension, off of Social Security right now, and he gets a decent Social Security check. I said, so as a surviving spouse, when he transitions, what are you going to give me? They said, I was like, y'all know this is criminal. This is criminal what you're doing. Let me call 50 people I know and let them know that this is what you guys are doing. So he's getting a check right now. We use it for his healthcare, his expenses. But the day he dies, it cuts off, and you better not cash that check if you get one, because they'll try to put you in jail. It is whacked. Do not talk to me about the Social Security Administration. If you think you're going to retire and get a good Social Security check, that is questionable. You need to go in and talk to them now, because they are reducing it. Every $2 that you make, every $1 you make, they take $2 away from you. So I was getting a very nice 4-digit check that I was supposed to be guaranteed when I retire. And it went from 4 digits to 3 digits down to 0.
So this is why I was so adamant about 401ks. I was like, so me, like, you guys can see, like, a lot of this stuff that I'm doing now has to do with, like, what I've seen. Like, I prayed for wisdom when I was younger, right? Because knowledge comes from, like, study, right? Knowledge comes from, like, experiences, but wisdom comes from, like, other people's experiences and learning from those. And then also applied knowledge, right? Applying what you learn. So for me to see her Social Security experience and me kind of going through the 401k, I was like, first of all, in 30, 40 years when I'm supposed to retire, they could create a policy and be like, yeah, you know, because we're going to war or because we're doing this, we're going to actually reallocate those funds.
Aaron, that's a great point. You have to watch, because every couple of years they change the policy on you. The Congress, the legislation, they change the policy. So you can start off one way, but if you're not on top of it, you'll be like me, get 0.
The goalpost constantly moves. And that's one of the things that I was keenly aware of. Like, when I was still in the corporate world, I was just like, look, like, if they're going to play this game, then I got to play the wealth game, because I know that there's people outside of this rat race. There's people outside of the 401k dependency, Social Security dependency. Like, imagine think of the wealthiest person right? And think about how often they would talk to you about their Social Security check. Think about how often they talk to you about depending on government assistance, right? Really, traditionally, the wealthiest people that I know are anti-government assistance or anti-government involvement, because they're just like, don't try to mess with my money. I just made this money. So that's what I've always known. When I hear certain people talk about their reliance on their 401k, or that's their only option, right? So you don't want to leave free money on the table. So if you're in a corporate job, of course, if they have a match, 100%, get that match, pre-tax dollars or whatever, like, get the match. But this is just my opinion, I wouldn't contribute past the match.
And you should not.
And you pay attention to what's happening with the 401k. Is it performing? Okay. Is it performing to a standard that you're comfortable with? If it's not, is there a way to reevaluate that capital, right? Let's say you have $100,000 in that 401k account, but you've got a $50,000 student loan, and you got a $30,000 car payment, and you got $20,000 worth of, I don't know, personal consumer debt that you're just like, I really need to get rid of this, right? You could consider taking a percentage of that out in order to pay for that education, right? To pay for that past education. Like, that's what I did. I took out my 401k. I've got, like, probably in the 4 figures or whatever left in my 401k, because I used a good amount of it to be able to make sure that, like, as I'm paying off things, I'm able to do it, like, faster, right?
And you have more available cash to you.
Exactly. So it only took me a couple of years to get myself out of consumer debt, because I left what I knew that I couldn't really rely on 30, 40 years from then. And then I also knew that I wasn't going to continue on the corporate path. So I was like, well, this little, like, $50,000 401k in 30, 40 years is going to be a few $100,000. But, like, I knew that, like, equity would take care of that. I knew that my business revenue would take care of that. I knew that passive income would eventually be able to take care of that. So that's what made me make that adjustment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is it wise for someone to continue the traditional path or actually start entertaining other investment vehicles?
It's definitely wise for the person to entertain other vehicles. You just want to do that, period. Keep your traditional path.
That's the point.
And then you want to add.
That's the point.
You want to add, and you want to make it as automated as possible, so that you can be doing other things, especially enjoying your life.
It's not an either or. It's
That's
a
right.
both and, right?
Yes.
It's definitely something that, like, For me in my position, I'm never going to put myself in a position like, don't do that, never do that. That's not what you should ever do. Well, did you consider, and this is my counseling background, well, did you consider this opportunity as well? Or did you, like, what about this for you in addition to that? Or, well, tell me, like, in your eyes, how is that benefiting you right now and what will kind of happen in the future? And just kind of giving a chance to like really have them really think about where they're at. If you're in a position where you're solely reliant and you only have that for retirement, then you would probably do well to consider the other opportunities that are out there to, of course, diversify, to, of course, also have increase, right? Because 1 + 1 is 2, right? But if you only have just the one thing, now you're just reliant. You're solely reliant. You're almost desperate, right? For that to continue to be successful.
And Aaron, one thing that we've been doing as a family, so when I actually do retire, I'm going to have more income than when I was working. Yes, it's all documented. I'll have more income than when I was working. But the problem that our family had is, what about dad? So that's where ATN has come in to help to bring that up. Me working every day, 40 hours a week right now, when I actually retire, I will have more money not working.
Well, let's talk about that, right? Because there's a big reason why you are still working, right? And it's because you're not working 40 hours a week.
Well, hey,
let's call it what it is.
I am a tenured faculty member of a college, and I'm not required to work 40 hours a week.
Right. So you're paid off of you're salaried off of a 40-hour work week. But to be honest, right, is it anywhere between 10 and 20 hours a week traditionally?
Okay,
let's record it. Okay, you know what? So let's just say, right. So for me, because I'm saying, like, I don't really like I record it or not, right? GC, shout out, Lopes up, baby. During the pandemic, especially I was working 10 or 15 hours a week. But of course, you still have to perform. You still have to earn your paycheck based off of the metrics that you're supposed to hit. But I was able to work less and still earn the same amount. And that was a big reason why I was like, man, I've got to figure out another stream. I've got to have more streams because I'm not working 40+ hours a week. So for you, that's the only reason why you're still working. If you were actually working 40 hours a week, slaving at your desk like a horse getting whipped, right, then would you be retired right now, especially based off of what I told you a couple years ago? Would you still be working?
Right, I would be gone. Yeah. I technically have to work 1 day a week.
Okay, so let's be real, right? Like, we're here to be real about the reality of what's happening here. You've been here for about 6 weeks. You've been here for chilling for 6 weeks. I ain't seen you take no calls. Listen, all right? And listen, right?
You're spilling the tea. Why are you spilling the tea?
We're just here to be real, right? Everybody appreciates authenticity.
This is gonna get the 40 million likes on it.
At the end of the day, right? We want people to just understand. It's not ATN is going to be a lifesaver and a life changer, and we're going to be able to like ride on a white cape and make sure to save the day. No, what it is going to be an opportunity for you to be able to diversify, for you to be able to have multiple streams, and ideally a passive income stream like we provide, to where you can set that aside or be able to like kind of have that be in the background while you're still doing the things that you need to do on a daily basis to make sure that your immediate needs are taken care of. And then you're essentially leveraging the fact that it's passive to be able to just be earning and boosting your retirement, boosting your current savings in order for you to be able to do the things that you really want to do and live life on your own terms.
Absolutely. That's what passive income is all about.
Yeah. And I tell her all the time, right, in terms of like, because she kind of is in between myself as far as being a pretty aggressive investor, so to speak, or somebody who is a bit of a risk taker, right? Somebody who's okay. My risk tolerance is higher than hers, right? And that has to do with age. That has to do with my circumstances, right? I'm earlier in my career, right? And I can take some swings that maybe a 60+ year old is not willing or able to take. But one of the things that I like strive for, and I always like want to make sure that she knows for herself, is it's like, we don't just want to have like an okay or even a really good life. A really good life can have you chilling, doing good, everything's okay, right? Not much to worry about financially, not much to worry about professionally. But I'm someone who strives for greatness. I'm someone who strives for excellence, being my best self at all times, right? That means like, why don't you have enough money in order to be able to go on a yacht in the south of France, right? Why don't you have enough money in order to be able to put a nephew or a niece through college, not just your own kids, right? Why not have enough capital to be able to really make an impact on villages in Africa or in your own community, right? Some people are focused on their own retirement, which is great. But when you have a vision that's bigger than just yourself, that's bigger than just your immediate set of circumstances, then that's going to pull you to a level. It's going to basically make you rise to a certain level. And now for me being in the position that I'm in now to where I can help support my family in that way, I told her a couple of years ago, I'm intentional in wanting to be able to help, not just the fact that it's hard enough living in Southern California with a full family and being only able to take care of myself in a suburban neighborhood. Great, wonderful, well, but if I'm just able to do that, then what position is that leaving you guys in?
Exactly. I don't have nothing to say.
The thing I think I want to also talk about is the automated network portion. So what does that mean to you, Aaron, as far as the network portion?
Yeah. So, I mean, your network, your community, you're only as strong as like the members of that community, right? And that's why we're really specific and we really pay attention. I'm critical on who actually is a part of the network. It's because if we just have people that don't really have strong minds, they're not really focused on or interested in their future and living their best lives. They're not really interested in like kind of being non-traditional and having more than the average. Those aren't the people that I really want to be around so much, because I strive for greatness, right? The one worst enemy of greatness is mediocrity. I don't want anybody in my network to be mediocre. I want them to, at the very least, strive to be their best self. The community aspect is just like each individual has a strong background, a strong level of expertise that could help the next person in the community, right? We've got real estate professionals, right? We've got people that are in business development. We've got people that are in mergers and acquisitions, and that these real estate developers can connect with somebody who's in mergers and acquisitions, use some of that capital and create something amazing, right? And we've seen these connections happen. That's one of the things that I've been really a part of, making sure that my executive team just is always aware of increasing the quality of clients that we have, so that everybody has the opportunity to not only benefit from what we can help with on the front end, which is passive income, but what can we also help with in the back end, which is connecting people with other like-minded individuals and people that are going to ultimately be able to really help them and get them to that level that they really want to be at.
Do you accept everyone?
Of course not, right? I mean, because a lot of people are mediocre or don't really strive to be past what's normal, what's traditional. And that's traditionally people are in the rat race, right? Traditionally, people aren't earning passive income and not in a position to where they can retire early or retire on their own terms and be able to live life on their own terms. So no, we don't accept everybody. So we have a ton of calls every single week, every single month. And more often than not, they don't have the opportunity to get personally interviewed by me and figure out if it's a really good fit. Our advisors are trained and equipped to be able to know, okay, what specifically are we looking for? What quality of prospect are we actually looking for? Who's ideal, right? We pay very close attention to who is the ideal client prospect. And then, so the ones that get through the advisors and it feels a good fit for them, then I'll come on, have a conversation, make sure that everything is aligned as far as expectations, as far as the goals that they have for themselves and what we can actually help them to provide. So if it's not aligned, I'll kind of give my advice. It's really what she mentioned in the other video, that I'm living in my purpose. I'm kind of flowing in the work that I was called to do, which is to counsel and to be able to help people. It's to really understand and listen to where the person actually is. And if it's genuinely a good fit for them, then that's what I'm going to recommend, right? I'm going to give the stamp of approval. We're going to move forward. But if it's genuinely not a good fit, right, you're just pulling from your 401k and that's the only source of capital that you have, I don't want to have that happen for you, right? I don't want I don't want it to be something that's an all or nothing, right? I don't want you to be taking money off of your mortgage or risking your mortgage, risking your food on the table for your family. That's not how this is, right? This is meant for people that are 6-figure earners or 7-figure earners that have experienced either automation burn, realizing that they're trying to get passive income and they weren't with the right team that could actually perform. These are for people that are in the stock market that are seeing the traditional 7 to 10% returns on a yearly basis. And it's for people that are in real estate as well that are seeing that around 10% annual return, and it costs so much in order to acquire the properties, especially now. The interest rates are ridiculous. The housing market is a bubble right now. It's not even a great time to get into real estate at this time, in my opinion. right? So that's who this community is for. And who this community is not for are those that are not like-minded, don't want to strive for greatness, don't want to see what's next and see what's possible as far as earning passive income and being in a position to travel and live life on their own terms. So with that, as everybody understands how to be able to find us, you can click the link in the description to be able to know more about if ATN is the right opportunity for you. If you're specifically looking for passive income that can work in tandem with the other things that you have going on and really want to strive to be in an excellent position and live wherever you want in the world and travel however you want to. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks, Mom, for being a part of this. And maybe we'll do another one, but you may not see her again. So oh, she wants to be seen now. She wants to be seen now. All right. So we'll see you on the next one.